Hey, welcome back. So, as I mentioned last time, today we're going to be looking at fixing some of those issues with not having enough space on our graphics for monster death animations. I'm going to look at trying to correct some of those. I've done a lot of work in the past week on this that has not been documented on video. I managed to fix one major glitch that was happening where once the character is giving a sword early in the game, that was causing the screens to trigger, and all of a sudden all the monsters throughout the entire game would disappear. And I realized that this has to do with the screen type that's set. So if we're up here looking at screen type here, like this one, the starting screen is set to 0. But if you go into the house, this is where the dog gives the character the stick, which is like our sword. If you go into screen info here, I've got this set as screen type 255 now. So when you talk to an NPC that has text set up and that text is set to trigger an action, like this one here, this is what happens when you talk to the dog. The dog gives you a stick. It has this end of text action. So NPC gives item, triggers that screen, and screens are basically either triggered or not triggered. But what it does is it triggers every screen that has the same screen type as that screen that's triggered. So like if we're looking at the overworld here, you can turn on show type, and I've got these set to 1 and most of them set to 0, which is the default. And then this one up here, which has the house where you get the item, which has the trigger, that's set to 255. So the idea is that that's only going to trigger screens that are marked 255, and it won't impact all these other screens. And how that works is here with this like day info and triggered day info, night info, triggered night info. I'm not using the day and night cycle yet. That would be a really cool feature to look into. But here for this, so like once screen type 1 is triggered, it switches over to the triggered day info. So that includes things like what text that NPCs, dialogue that NPCs are using, and then what music is playing, which is cool. So like if you activate something, then you can switch over to the music. Like if you defeat a boss character, then it can switch over to like happy music or something like that. Or like once you get the sword, maybe it goes to like an upbeat adventure type music to kind of like inspire people to like, all right, we got the sword now we can go out and poke stuff with it. So there's the day monsters tab, and this is what happens on the screen by default. So this is the monsters that just occur naturally when the screen is not triggered. And then when it switches over to day triggered monsters, that's going to change what appears on the screen. And this one I already messed with, although these actually need to have the same palette set. It's not using these on the screen, so that doesn't really matter. But as a good practice, that should be set. So let's look at a screen I haven't adjusted yet. I think there's some monsters over here. Frog archers. Yeah, here we go. So this one I have set as day monsters, and we have our bridge frog monster group. But if this screen is triggered, then it switches over to day triggered monsters, and there's nothing set. It's kind of carrying that image over, but there's no day monster group set. So if this screen was triggered, then it's just not going to have monsters on it, which that was baffling me for the longest time. Like I could not figure out what was wrong. I was like almost to the point of like, do I just give up on this game and start a new one? But thankfully I got that fixed, and that's been a huge relief. So at this point then, let's go into our graphics editor and we'll look at trying to figure out how to correct those monster graphics that I messed up to account for the death animations. So I'm going to want to open up this one here, and I think it's this giant mimic tree that I'm going to need to move to a different graphics set, which is going to be kind of a pain, but it's necessary, so we're going to do it anyway. I might have to do another monster too. I might have to move some stuff off this screen because none of these have death animations. Okay, let's open up a bunch of tabs here and get these opened. And maybe I'll just open up a blank one. That'd probably be the best way to do it. I haven't used Monster 003 yet, so we can use this. And the annoying part is going to be not doing this, but fixing the monsters themselves. So I'm basically going to have to do their graphic design from scratch. Not this part, but like setting up the animations and all of that. Let's delete this out. Just overwrite that with black. Okay. So here realistically, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monsters on this screen. And I have 12 empty spaces, so this should be reasonable for having enough space to set up those death animations. That should work. You know what I'm gonna do is do some placeholder death animations just to help me keep track of what I'm doing. So let's do all the death animations down here. Death frames, I should say, not animations. We're gonna do those all down here in this bottom left corner. Good, so I only need 4, and then I might use those remaining squares if I need to do like a monster hurt animation. If I can't just do like a palette swap, it would be great if there's like a palette swap I can do with a script that would just flick them to a different palette real quick to show that they've like taken damage. But if I have to use a different graphic here, I will. So let's see, I have this copied over. Save that. And then this one here, oops. I'm gonna create a death animation for this guy, giant evil monster tree. So that's the death animation for him. Save that. Save that. And I'm gonna cordon, that's a word I don't use very often. I'm gonna rope these off here, just so I know for my own reference that these are the death animations, so that I don't forget. Okay, great. So then what we need to do is go back to our monster itself, the one I moved, the giant tree, because this is now going to be completely wrong. We need to switch this. Oh, it's going to affect the monster groups. It might affect the monster groups too. We're going to switch this up to tiles 3. Here we go. Yeah. Not quite right. Okay, so this is his cloak animation where he starts out like this. We need to have this set to... This is something where NES Maker could really improve because all of these squares have to be set one at a time, and it would be really nice to just do like a Control A or a Select All and be able to change these palettes all at once. Okay, so that's frame 1. Frame 2, this would be him kind of opening up his eyes. Boop. No, I need to be up here. Boop. He's sneaking a peek. And, well, perhaps I misspoke, because it appears that I don't need to set all of these to sub-palette 4. Maybe because I set them in the last one? I'm not sure. Good. So that's basically set. Now, the attack animation needs reset here too, so that should go... Let's have it start with this. frame 2. I think he's going to go back to peak. Maybe I just set it as this. So he is like this, and then he moves toward the player, and then he would go back to cloak mode. Why don't we try that? That's less frames I have to worry about. So that's his attack animation. Oh, no, though, I do want him to end on this graphic here. Because if I don't do that, then he's going to go immediately back to looking just like a cloaked tree. And I don't want him to go from attack to cloak. It should have like a transition where he goes into just peak mode. So that looks pretty good. And the animation durations are already set on these. So max speed, that's his movement speed. Acceleration speed, that's how he goes from 0 to 18. How rapidly. Jump is something I want to look into. I don't know how to use that yet. Set as monster. Actions, cloak for 15 seconds. Or not, it's not seconds, it's like 15 NES cycles. I don't know how exactly that translates to seconds. And then he goes to attack. Move towards player. Move towards player for quite a significant amount of time. This is a major enemy. So try not to have more than one of these on one screen. This is like the equivalent of like the Doom hierarchy. This would be like your Baron or like your Mancubus level enemy. Okay, then he goes to stop moving, back into cloak. Action null. Yeah, null starting. And then he goes to stop moving, and then this goes to first. Great, so let's see how this affected things on the overworld where I actually have these monsters in place. There's one up here, okay. Color palette looks wrong. Here, this will be fun. Let's just test this out. I know it's going to be glitchy, but we'll just see what happens if I load this up. Yeah, okay, so it's using the graphics that I had set as death animations, which I wouldn't think that it would have done because I just updated all of those. That's a little weird. I'm guessing that's because of the screen settings and the monster group settings. So the monster group needs fixed so that it's referencing the new tile set that I'm using. That's what the difference is. I'm also concerned that these mimic trees in the back are not moving. I don't know if they're getting stuck on a solid object. I think what they're doing is they're probably hitting... Oh, okay, I just got killed. They're probably hitting either this left tree or this big tree, and then they're stopping their movement because of how I have their AI settings set. I don't even have enough ammo to kill this thing, I don't think. Wait, maybe I do. I have that set to unlimited for testing. So that's dead now. Again, this is why we need death animations, so I can even tell that stuff has been killed. Okay, not bad. So, what we need to do now, this is why we test things, I need to edit the AI settings for these lesser mimic trees, and then I need to change a bunch of stuff for that guy. So, day monsters, monster group, this is part of the problem. That needs set correctly. Forest, okay, and let's set this to forest 2. There we go. There's at least our color settings getting corrected. Go to monster group here. And these were in, let's see. Okay, you see how this became blank? Mimic tree. Oh no. Because that's on a different tile set now. Oh no. That means I can't have them in the same monster group. That's an issue. Okay. Tiles 1. Tiles 2. Tiles 3. Here's our mimic tree. Oh, that's a pain. So, to have a monster group, it needs to have the same monsters in it for any particular screen. That's a problem. That means I'm going to have to change how I have monsters set up on different screens. So if we go back here to... Oops, I just screwed that up. Set that, save. And see now, if I go back here, if I set this to mimic tree, then I don't have access to those smaller trees, and I really want them on the same screen as my my large monster here. Why is that set to tile 0? That doesn't make sense. Okay, well, there's mimic tree. Let's see if this works first. And then I'm going to have some work to do to go back and change those other monster groups. Okay. It's putting players up here at the top. That's fun. Okay. What we need to do is remove all of these individually. Okay, and that's still not referencing the right tile set. I'm not sure why. Okay, tiles 0, that's wrong. Tiles 3, save. Now we go back up here. Place monster 1, mimic tree giant. And I want to check real quick to see tiles 3. This all looks good here. So the graphical glitch is not in the monster itself. I think that should be fixed now. Let's see what shows up. Okay, it's in the wrong spot, but it looks good. Is it dead? Did I kill it? It is. Why did it die in one hit? And why is it not loading in the right spot? That's interesting. I'll put it up here. Let's see what happens. Why is it loading? It's like on the wrong spot. Okay, that hurts me, that hurts me. So its bounding box is correct. Okay, there's some issues here with that, but we're getting there. So now back to monster groups and how to fix these other screens. So like down here, I had mimic trees here. I might have to move those mimic trees also into this graphic bank. I think that's going to be the only way I can do it, and that means I can't have mimic trees on the same screens as my mushrooms and my other guys, but you know, that's just part of the limitation of working with NES stuff, and that's actually what I find really enjoyable about doing this just in general, is you can't get everything you want, so you have to be creative with how you build stuff. So then, now that those are up here, I'm going to clear them off of this. I haven't used these mimic trees too much, so hopefully this is not too much of a pain to resolve. This here needs, just like we did with the other one. Oh boy, okay. Right, so this is his standby, and then he peeks. Great. This is cloak animation. And then his attack animation will do just like we did with the other tree. So this is his attack frame. And then it goes back to peeking. Good. Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. And then we'll go to our monster group. Here, set tiles 3. Mimic tree giant. Mimic tree. Mimic trees. Perfect. And then we're back here in the overworld. And I should be able to place this. Yes. I'm going to put these in the center here. So hopefully they're not getting stuck on things. And I'm going to put a fourth one in here too. Down in the corner. Let's see what happens when we run this. Okay, there they are. They're all coming to life. This one's going to charge at me in a second, maybe. Yep. There we go. These guys still not moving. Not totally sure what's going on with that. They should be doing something. But we will get that figured out. What I need to do now is go back to other screens where I have those mimic trees, which I honestly can't even remember. Like where I put all those. That was one of the first monsters I came up with. Oh no. What's going on here? What's going on with my mushrooms? All my mushrooms are giant mimic trees now. Why in the world did that happen? Oh, because I edited that monster group. I thought it was saving as a new one. Well, I messed that up. Okay. So I have some homework here to do. But hopefully by the time the next video comes out, I'll have all that fixed and we'll have operational mushrooms and mimic trees and all of our monster groups and screens and things will be back in working order. And we'll have room for death animations, which I didn't even get to the process of creating, but we'll get all that fixed. So see you next time.